So I went out and about to capture a few videos to use for this Hollywood film look tutorial, and while I was out, I actually realized that a lot of the film look comes way before getting into DaVinci Resolve. Nowadays, most film you actually watch from Hollywood, they're not shot on film. Aside from a few exceptions, like Euphoria from HBO for example, most Hollywood films that actually look like they were shot on film, they're not. They're shot on digital, same like June. He was shot on Arri Alexa digital camera, and then he was transferred into film and then scanned back to life to get this very unique film look and just film feel within the movie. But obviously none of that is what we're doing today. To capture the scenes that we're color grading today, I shot in a very specific way with a very specific type of lenses. In fact, I only shot using Soviet lens, which are vintage lens, which is gonna be easier to recreate that look. And also, when I shot in blue hour and I only focused on very contrasting and intense colors. Again, colors and light is everything you need when capturing something and you want that something to look like film. In fact, before, when I said that the film look starts way before getting into DaVinci Resolve, what I meant is the way you shoot and the way you light. For example, right now, I lit this whole room scene to make it look very moody, very colorful. It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. There's like a red light here, there's a blue light right there. Something don't make sense, but this is what enhancing the film look like. For example, in Euphoria, a lot of the scene, the colors are way too extreme, but they just work because that's what they went for. So as long as you create something that you're mean to go with and you get creative with it, that's okay. It's creativity, it's art, so we can do whatever we want. So here we are in DaVinci Resolve, and as you can see, we have a few different pieces of footage that I pre-shot the other day and some that I shot a few weeks ago. Just I like the look of it, and we're gonna start with this one because this is probably the nicest and easiest footage to recreate the film look because it's perfect. It is sunrise, it's good light, it's very colorful, and it's shot on a Canon FD 28mm, which is a very cool and just interesting looking lens. So as always, we're just gonna create a bunch of nodes, and then we're gonna change all of them later. The first one and the last one, it's always the color space transform. And since we shot in Sony S-Log3, we're putting Sony S-Log3, and then we're putting Rec 709 and Cineon Film Log. Cineon Film Log is what we're using to incorporate a LUT that is based off this specific output gamma. And then the last one, I'm gonna name this CST, and the last one CST. And we are gonna do the same thing, but from Rec 709 Cineon Film Log to Rec 709 and Gamma 2.4, which is the best output in my opinion in terms of color. So we're gonna start naming things now. The first one I like to call it vignette. Then we got our primaries, got our LUT, and then we're gonna add one more film. I just call it film for ease. So the way I like to work is always start from vignette because it's the kind of the easiest one. I just create a mask like this. I feather it quite a lot, and then I just bring down the exposure and I make sure the mask is inverted. And there's your vignette. Primaries, we're gonna touch that later. Let's jump right into LUT. So we're gonna go into LUTs, and you can see film looks right here. And all of these are film looks that DaVinci Resolve already incorporated, but the one that we want are this one, the D60, the D65, and the D55. And if you kind of go over them, you'll see that there isn't much difference, honestly. And the main difference is just the saturation. In fact, if you look at this one, and this one, and this one, this is way more saturated and more warm almost, and this is a bit less. So what I like to use is this D60 because it's kind of in the middle of everything. And right now it's a little bit too intense in my opinion, and I just want to show you guys, if I deactivate all the CST, this is what the LUT looks like by itself. So it doesn't work. With one CST, yeah, it still doesn't work. With two CST, works great. So what we're gonna do is go down here into the key and into key output, and we'll go to like 0.7. Yeah, 0.65. Yeah, it's good. So as you can see, this is with the LUT, without LUT. And obviously our highlights all over there are a bit crazy right now, so we're gonna just have to bring those down and just pretty much play around until you're kind of happy with the dynamic range and how the image in general look. One thing I'm not happy right now is the white balance, and there's many ways you can change white balance in DaVinci Resolve, but probably my favorite ones is using the color wheels. I'm not saying it's the right way of doing it, I just say that this is what I like to do it and this is what works for me. So for example, right here, I would always adjust the lift red and blue, and then the gain red and blue. And this allows me to like pretty much play around with the colors of the whole image. And you can do this on a separate node. I just prefer to do everything together because I don't see the need of creating extra nodes for this. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Now, there is one thing that I would do here, which is create a parallel node with Option P, at least on my shortcuts. And then I would create a simple mask around our subject because I feel like she is missing a bit of pop, and also she's getting a bit confused with the background. So I would just put the soft up and I would truck it just so it's trucked and stays into place. And then I would go into here and just add a little bit of pop, more contrast, and then also her skin tones looks a bit weird. So we're gonna adjust our color wheels until the skin tones looks good. Again, I'm not saying this is the right way of doing things, I just think this is the way that works for me. Now we're gonna jump into the last node, which is the film node. And here you can do a bunch of things. You could use, I'll show you guys, the enhancer, for example, and just use the grain and halation, but obviously the enhancer is not free. But I want to show you guys things for free. So film grain, and when I say for free, by the way, I mean with DaVinci Resolve Studio, not just DaVinci Resolve free version, just to be clear. So film grain comes included, and what I like to use, it's usually the 35mm 400T, if not. For this scene, I think, yeah, for this scene, the 16 500T looks great. So this is one way of adding grain, or you can simply, let's delete that, and just type in halation, and that's another way of adding a film look. So the first thing that I do is secondary glow, which is like a filtration, and I add a little bit. So this is before and it's after, a bit softer. And then here you got your halation, and you have to zoom in quite a bit onto this part of the image to actually see it. So right now I'm not a fan of it. We have to change a few things. Usually the spread, it's wrong. What I just like to do usually is just kind of figure out where the halation is by putting that up, and then also the threshold. You want always kind of the threshold to be pretty high so that the halation doesn't ruin your image. And this is another way of doing it. I don't really like it, so usually I would just use the enhancer or something like that. So it's up to you if you want to create a big node tree or a small node tree, but I would totally recommend doing something like this, and then, you know, disabling this one, and then simply grab a still and create your own preset, because this is what I do. I would just do this, grab a still, and then you bring this into your power grids, you rename it, and then you can just, you know, go into a different clip, drag and drop it, and that's your power grade. Everything is already done for you. We can see that this works actually pretty good with this image. One thing I would do right here, just bring up the midtones and the shadows just so it looks a bit better and a bit less contrasty. If I copy and paste this one over pretty much every clip I have here, you will see one thing common: color. All of these images have a lot of color, this one as well. Color is the base of the film look. It's everything that happens before even getting into DaVinci Resolve, as we talked about before. So if you capture something that it's not colorful enough, or that is just kind of plain, it's just not gonna act as good with a film look as color does, because color is what film looks makes look better, if you will. Like this image, for example, with all of this fruit here and the two persons, and this one subject has a blue shirt, which is a perfect complementary color with his skin, and, you know, the blue hour and the lights of the car passing by. Like this whole scene, it's super cool. And also the fact that it's been shot on a vintage lens, as I said before, makes a big difference. You can change the colors, you can change this look so much, and this is why I think this actual node tree is pretty useful for someone who is just getting into creating brand new looks and just creating looks with DaVinci Resolve. Because, you know, I've been using this for like a year and a half now, and I consider myself okay. I don't think I'm great at it. I'm not a colorist by any means, but I think I understand DaVinci Resolve quite well by now. And I think that more people should use it, and I hope that with these tutorials you'll get used to it. So thanks for sticking around. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video next week, as always. See ya.